Good evening and Shavua Tov. I hope all of you are doing well. Tonight we have a lot of ground to cover and I'll be moving a little quicker than usual. If you have questions that relate to Pshat, if I've been unclear, please call me out, use the chat function. I have it popped up on my screen. And if you have a general question or a question that's off the dop, let's hold off just for tonight. In general, I don't mind at all. But we're starting later than usual, and we have more to cover than usual. So tonight, officially, we're covering Kuf Hey Amud Beis and Daf Kuf Vav, all the way down to the Mishnah on the bottom of Kuf Vav Amud Beis. It's 1 3/4 of a daf. We're starting with the Mishnah on Kuf Hey Amud Aleph at the beginning of a new parak, Baruch Hashem, and that will be Parak HaOreg. Speaking about weaving, to be clear, as we are about to start this Mishnah, Rashi highlights that the system that they used for weaving, and in this particular Mishnah, the weave that we will be discussing, we don't really know a lot of the logistics about this weave, and because of that, it's a little difficult to understand, so I will be intentionally vague. Rashi and other Mefarshim here point out that we're not exactly sure what the weave looked like, but it certainly looked a little different than usual. Let's get started. The Mishnah opens, Rabbi Eliezer Omer HaOreg, Shlosha Chutim B'tchila V'achas Al HaOreg Chayev. A person who begins the weaving process, if they've done three moves, three activities on the weave, whatever that means, that requires definition as well, that it requires a minimum of 3 actions with the weave in order to be Chayev. That's only if you're beginning a garment from scratch. However, ve'achas al ha'arig, that which is already begun, let's say you're halfway through a garment, just to add even one more weaving action would be chayav. That's the sheet of Rabbi Eliezer. It's always going to be 2, either to start a new garment is 2, or to continue a garment that's already created. 2 activities on the loom, that is going to be the chiyuv of oreg. This is already where it gets complicated. Someone who takes ropes and they put it over 2 parts of the loom through what are called the heddle. And if you Google this, you'll see that it was basically a thing that you put the string through, and they would raise alternate ones. So let's say all odd numbered ones, when they'd raise this up through the heddle, it would pull up half the strings and the bottom half would lower, and then they'd run the garment through, and then they'd flip-flop so that you would have that weave look in a garment. So that's what this is talking about here. Bikirus, we'll see what bikirus means shortly. Benapa, bekavra, uvisal. Napa and kava are 2 types of sieves, 2 types of colanders. Uvisalan, with a basket, all of those, in making those, you're going to be chayev. And then the din closes off here in the Mishnah about tofer shtei tfiros, someone who does 2 tfiros, 2 stitches. 2 stitches. Vehakorea almanas litfor, and someone who tears in order to then stitch again. Shtei tfiros, in both of those cases you'll be chayiv as well. Of course, if you're familiar with the Mishnah, we learned some 40 bladago and ayin gimel. These last two dinim of tofer shtei tfiros and koreh manas litfor was found in the Mishnah ayin gimel. The Gemara is going to ask that question as well. We are now at the Mishnah. We are now on the last of the short lines. Kuf Hey Amud Aleph. Ki yaser Rav Yitzchak tani shtayim. He said, I didn't learn the din of Rabbi Eliezer like you did. In our Mishnah, we learned that Rabbi Eliezer held it's 3 moves on the loom if you're doing it to start a garment, and only 1 if the garment already exists. However, Rabbi Yitzchak said, I only learned 2. What about our Mishnah that says 3? In other words, which version of Rabbi Eliezer is right? Is it the version of our Mishnah that says 3 for a new garment, 1 for one that's existing? Or is it the Shita of Rabbi Yitzchak that's quoted here in the beginning of the Gemara, last of the short lines, that says 2? So the answer to the Gemara, Lokasha habe alimi habe ktini. It depends on the thickness of the rope. If it's alimi, then 1, and if it's ktini, then the other. If it's a thick rope, then we'll have to figure out what that means. And if it's a thin rope, a thin thread, then we'll have to see. But right now the Gemara says just out of the gates, it says Amrei lo lahai gisa, Amrei lo lahai gisa. I could give pshat in what this answer means in both directions. In other words, I could attribute our Mishnah to alimi or katini, to thick or thin ropes, and I could attribute the new brisa that we learned in the beginning of the Gemara to either of those answers as well. And here's how it would work out. Second of the wider lines, Amri lo lahai gisa. Here's approach number 1. Alimi, if it's thicker rope, tlasa lo sasre, tre sasre. The thicker ropes were not made very well. They were very loosely woven, and when you would weave them together, if it was 3, they wouldn't fall apart. But if it was 2, then it would fall apart. Namely, if it's 3 thick ropes, you'd be chayev, and if it's 2, you'd be pater. So 3 in this case would be our Mishnah. Tini, Treinami lo sasri, 2 as well, you'd be chayiv as well, and that's the brisa which would say that you're chayiv on 2. So answer number 1 is that our Mishnah is talking about thicker rope, and the brisa which says only 2 would be chayiv on the loom, that's talking about thinner rope. Here's another approach how we could have understood this answer of ha'alimi habaktini. Says the Gemara, katini tlasa yediyeh. If you have very thin ropes, it's so thin. Imagine the spools of thread that we're used to, tiny, like microns thick. The thread is so thin. So there, katini tlasa yediyeh. You can only recognize what you're doing once 3 pieces of thread are put into the loom. Trey lo yediyeh. By 2, you would not be able to recognize. Namely, our Mishnah is talking about katine because 3 are recognizable and 2 are not. Alime, but the thicker ropes, trey nami yediyeh, even if it's 2, because they're thicker, they're more noticeable, and therefore you'd be chayiv. That's the brisa as it starts in our Mishnah. These are the 2 different answers. We're now going to see a number of brisas of a similar nature. Tanya, the brisa writes, ha'orig gimel chutin b'tchila ve'echad ala orig, an identical quote to our Mishnah without the name of Rabbi Eliezer, but seemingly another Tana held the same way, chayiv. Same exact quote from our Mishnah, machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim, though here seemingly a little bit more anonymous on the first shita because we don't see Rabbi Eliezer's name. And also this brisa continues. We've only talking about starting a new garment or continuing a garment. What about the hem? Uvisafa, on the lip of the garment, the hem, beis chutin berochav gabe bate nirin. Here, the measure is 2 ropes against 3 frames within the loom. So whatever the width is, it looks like a little bit like a band of width. It's very rectangular in nature, very long and very narrow. So that's what this brisa highlights. Here we are. That's what this brisa highlights about the safa. Uvisafa beis chutin berochav gimel bate nirin. What can you make with this type of thing? 2 pieces of thread across 3 parts of the loom. So the Gemara answers the orig tiltal katan, a little belt, a little strand that one could wrap their clothes with. Tiltal katan beis chutin berochav gimel bate nirin. Same exact shear that this is what you could make. That the Gemara was basically asking, what is this that you're making? Who cares about 2 threads that are three parts of the frame wide? And the Gemara answers, because you can make a belt like that, very, very thin. Sometimes in women's dresses, they wear a very thin belt that wraps around their clothes. So that could be conceptually this. It's a very small thread. Next brisa, and not yet the next brisa. This is just a quote from the same brisa actually. As we learned, when this brisa opened, it says, This is just confirming what it says in our Mishnah, that our Mishnah says that Rabbi Eliezer hold 3 threads would be chai with a new garment, and 1 thread would be chai within a garment that already exists. And the Gemara is just confirming that this stam shita and the brisa that we just saw, this new brisa, is like Rabbi Eliezer. New brisa, Tanya Idach, 10 lines from the bottom, beginning of the line. Tanya Idach, another brisa writes, Oreg beis chutin, ala gasri, ala imra, someone who weaves 2 threads on a large garment or on the hem of a garment, chayav. Rabbi Eliezer omer afilu echad, even if it's only 1. A shita we're familiar with, Rabbi Eliezer holds for a garment that exists already. To add only 1, you're going to be chayiv. Uvisafa, what if it's on the hem? Shnei chutin berochav shlosha bate nirin chayiv. Same as we learned before, that when it comes to the hem can be very thin. The hem could be just 2 strings across 3 parts of the room, 3 heddles of the loom, and then you would be chayiv there. Halamazah doma, just like before. What could you do with such a small garment? Answers the Gemara. What you could do with such a small garment is the orig tziltul katan shnei chutin al rochav gimel bate nir. What you can do is make that very thin belt that some people may wear. The orig beis chutin al agas ve'al imra chayiv stama kirabanan. This seems to be like the sheet of the Rabbanan. Why? Because what did the Rabbanan hold in our Mishnah? That whether or not it was at the beginning of a garment or on a garment, whether or not you were starting a new garment or it was a garment that already existed, the Chachamim held that it was always going to be 2 moves on the weave, on the loom, and then you'd be chayiv in such a case, and that's what we're seeing here. That's what this brisa held. It said that it's beis chutin al hagas ve'al ha'imra. So says the Gemara. It seems to be that that's like the sheet of the Chachamim in our Mishnah, and everything aligns. Very good. We're now right now at the 2 dots, about 7 lines from the bottom of the page. Ha'osa shtei batei nirin. The Gemara is just bothered by the language. My benirin. It said shnei batei nirin benirin. What's a base near and what's a near? So this is where Rashi highlights as I began tonight's shir, is that we don't know exactly what we're talking about. But Abaye, Amar Abaye, tarte bevate nira v'chada benira. The Rishonim here point out that there was a very specific type of looping that was done, one around the heddle and then one around the rope itself in order to generate a certain type of weave beyond the pale for our conversation for this evening, especially because we don't know what their loom looked like. So it's entirely theoretical. It's also theoretical for another reason, which is that we don't typically weave on Shabbos. That said, there are some children's toys that you can get in your house that actually do function in a halachic weaving way. Please don't use them on Shabbos. It's one of the rare applications of weaving on Shabbos that one would need to be careful for. Bekerus, we said in our Mishnah, if you look on the fourth line of our Mishnah, we said, What's Bekerus? My Bekerus, Amar Rav, Mitzuvisa. It was a special type of loom that was used for their curtains. Their curtains had a specific weave to them, either for darkness or for warmth, whatever the methods were. And that specific loom is what's being referred to here. The Atofer based Tfiros says the Gemara, wait a minute, we learned this already. Hatanina, we learned on Daf Ayin Gimel, but Abos Malachos Atofer based Tfiros. Why are you repeating the same exact din on Daf Kuf Hey that we learned on Daf Ayin Gimel? We don't repeat Mishnayos. Answers the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom. Mishum de Kaboy Lemisna Sefa Be'akorel Manas Litfor based Tfiros Katani Nami Hatofer. Because of the last line, these two dinim come together. There's Tofer and there's Korea Almanas Litfor. But because we needed to teach the second din, as we'll learn significantly about this evening, about tearing clothing. So because we needed to teach that din, we brought this din with it as well. Says the Gemara, but wait, we need that din we already learned also, because both of these din, Matofer based Tfiros and Akorel Manas Litzvor, both of them are found in the Mishnah Daf Ayin Gimel. So why is that repeated here in the Mishnah here on Kuf Hey? Answers the Gemara, Ella, Mishum de Kabayla Misna Sefa Koreh B'Chamaso Ve'al Meso, because as we're going to learn, the next Mishnah that we're going to learn, pretty sure it's a Mishnah. Yeah, because of the next Mishnah that we're going to learn tonight on the top of the next Amud, which we'll learn momentarily, there we spoke about a person who tears their garments when they're in mourning. When people are in mourning, they're very distraught, and sometimes they can tear garments. A big halachic discussion if they do it on Shabbos, which is what we're going to spend time on tonight. So that's the Gemara's question here. But because we needed to learn that din of Akoreh B'Chamaso Al Meso, therefore this Mishnah, which precedes the Mishnah on tearing garments during mourning, so therefore we taught these dinim here. Mishum hachik tani hatofer shtei tfiros. Last line of Kuf Hey and Aleph before we turn to the top. Akoreh Manas Litfor shtei tfiros eichi mishkach asla. What is a case scenario where a person would tear in order to restitch? Answers the Gemara, the avda ki chisisa. Top of the Kuf Hey Beis, Rashi says the avda baged, you make a garment ki chisisa holeches umis kapeles. The garment folds in a funny way. So what you do is you cut it and then you restitch it in a way to make it sit flat. I remember back in the day when people would crochet kippas. Sometimes you had to do a double stitch and sometimes you had to do a single stitch. And if the kippa curved too much, they'd pull out the threads and then they'd go back and they'd restitch with the appropriate stitch pattern, whatever it was. So I don't know if that's considered hakoreh manas litzfor. That may just be matir and kosher. I'm not really sure. But conceptually, that's what it is that we would be cutting to remove a bump in a garment. Let's start the next Mishnah, top of Kuf Hey Beis. The Mishnah writes, hakoreh b'chamaso ve'al meso v'chol mekalkal and peturin. A person who is in the mourning phase, hakoreh b'chamaso, either they're angry, they tear out of anger. Someone who can't control their kas, they tear things. Ve'al meso. Meso is a specific language, his mace. We'll have to see what the scope of that is today, what his mace means. And anyone who just does a destructive act with no purpose, in all of those cases, you're going to be patur. And a person who does destruction, but it's not like the previous line of you're being destructive, but you're being destructive for the sake of rebuilding something. So under those circumstances, it just depends on what you're fixing. The shear will be dependent on what it is that you're fixing. It says the Mishnah, shir hamalabein v'hamanapet tzvatzoveh v'atoveh. What's the shir isser for malabein, for cleaning something? V'hamanapet, it's for combing out wool, or cotton actually, or wool. V'atzoveh, to dye something. V'atoveh, or to wind together in a specific way garments to make the thread usable. What is the width here? Kimalo rochav hasit. This is a reference, as you'll see here, the Gemara is going to point out the difference in height between the amma and the etzba. So let's call this approximately a centimeter, very, very small shear, approximately a centimeter. So that's the sheet here, Kimalo rochav hasit kaful. It's double the amount between the difference in your finger between the amma and the etzba. So if it's a centimeter, then it's approximately 2 centimeters. In our parlance, 2.54 centimeters is an inch. So it's approximately an inch. If you stained or if you cleaned any of that, approximately a 1 inch amount of thread, a little bit less, actually 3/4 of an inch, whatever it is. So then under those circumstances, you would be chayiv. And the shear is called kimelo rochav hasit Kafel. We'll learn a little bit more about that later. What about weaving 2 threads? There as well. Similar shear. We're going to learn more details about that a little bit later. The Gemara opens 5-6 lines down on Kufhei Amud Beis. Let's get started. The Mishnah here presents Uraminhu. Uraminhu always means a contradiction in 2 Tanaic sources. Uraminhu hakoreh bechamaso uve'evlo. And here there's a girsa challenge with the word ve'al meso. It sounds like 3 cases. It's koreh bechamaso, it's koreh be'evlo, in their mourning, and ve'al meso, and on the person who passed away. So the Meforshim say there's no difference between al evlo, be'evlo, and al meso. So therefore, if you look on the side here in the Agos V'Tzionim, it changes it from ve'al to al, be'evlo al meso. So it's only 2 cases brought here in this first Tanaic source, and therefore, if you do that, you're going to be chayiv. And then this Tanaic source adds in a very important thing. Of course, we know that there is a chiyuv derabanan to tear kriya in a variety of scenarios. When a person becomes an avel, they're obligated to tear kriya. For everyone other than parents, a person tears on the right side of their shirt. And for a parent who has a greater level of kavod, a greater mourning, the person who brought you into the world is no longer here. Under those circumstances, you're obligated to tear on your left, which is immediately over your heart. Now, this brisa adds in one very important side din. It is ancillary to our conversation. We're talking about hakoreh bechamaso. What's added here is as follows: Shabbos, Normally, we say that mitzvah ba'avera, no dice. If you do something wrong at the same time that action, you're doing that action also violates Shabbos. That doesn't work. Here, for reasons we're not going to go into tonight, if a person is mechalel Shabbos to tear their clothing, so the din is that they're still yotzei kriya, which is very, very unique. Okay, that's source number. That's our source number 2, because our Mishnah said that if you're koreh bechamaso ve'al meso, you're pater. So that's our contradiction. Source number 1 is our Mishnah that says that you're pater when you tear bechamaso or you tear on your mace. Source number 2, the brisa that opens here in the beginning of the Gemara 6 lines down, says al koreh bechamaso ve'evlo, you're going to be chayiv. Answers the Gemara, lo kasha habemeisti day habemeisti alma. It depends. If it's meisti day, then that's one world. Then you're going to have one halacha. If it's meisti alma, if it's a person who's not be'evlo, it's not a person it's not d-day, it's not your avel, it's not someone who died in your family. It's just a regular person, a stama Jew. So says the Gemara, wait a minute, you can't say that, because our Mishnah writes, v'ha meso ktani. Our Mishnah writes meso, namely, the person is your mace. You're obligated for kavura, or they're one of your 7 relatives, as the Torah points out directly and explicitly by Kohanim. Mesok, that doesn't work. So answers the Gemara, Olam b'meisti day. Really, you're right. Our Mishnah is talking about meisti day. So how could it be that you're pater in our Mishnah if it's b'meisti day? Because it's someone who is behanach dalav b'nei avelos ninhu. It's someone who you have to worry about, but it is not an immediate family member that warrants your avelos. Asks the Gemara, well, wait a minute, even if he isn't your family member, if the person was a chacham who died, you're going to be obligated to tear kriya no matter what. Why? Titania, the brisa writes, chacham shemeis hakol krovav. If a wise person dies, if you remember from earlier in the Masechta, a chacham is greater than a Talmud chacham. A chacham is the wise person. The Talmud chacham is the second level down. It's hierarchical. The second level down is not as great as the top. The chacham is the highest level. Chacham shemeis hakol krovav. Everyone's his relative. What does that mean? Everyone's his relative. Everybody has to sit shiva. Everybody has shloshim. Everybody has yud beis chodesh. Like, how does it work? It says Gemara, hakol krovav sal kadaitach. Do you really mean to say that by a chacham that everyone is considered to be his relative? Ela ima hakol ke krovav. Everyone should treat the chacham like their family members. How so? Hakol koren alav. Everybody tears their clothes for him. Hakol choltzen alav. Everybody reveals their shoulder. It was just common to tear your clothes down to your chest. This raises some tznius issues. When you go to a funeral, if a woman has to tear kriya, a woman cannot reveal herself that way. Tefach isha erva. She cannot reveal her shoulder. So what basically happens is when a woman tears kriya, she tears her inner garment, and then she spins it around, and then she tears her outer garment so that what was the back of her garment, which is uncut, her underneath garment is now covering her. So she's torn through both layers of her garments without showing any erva, which is halachically, of course, that's our burden. But for the Talmud Chacham, hakol koren alav, hakol chotzen alav, hakol mavrin alav b'rechava, we treat him with the highest of honors. So how can you say in our mission you're going to be pater even if the person is not going to be your meisti day? I mean, he's meisti day, but he's not part of your avelus world. Maybe he's a chacham and you're obligated to tear. This is halacha l'maisa. When a gadol hador dies, everyone should be tearing kriya. Everyone. God forbid when people die in the future, and certainly when people have died in the past, that's the din. When Moshe Feinstein died, people were tearing Kriya right and left. That's the dina. People should be doing that. When a person who's the accepted Gadol Hador passes away, so then we are obligated to tear Kriya in some form. Answers the Gemara, you're right. Good contradiction to our Mishnah, because our Mishnah may not be a family member, but maybe it's a chacham. How can you say pater? We're chayiv and kriya. Maybe you should say chayiv. Answers the Gemara, lo tzricha delav chacham. The person that you're talking about is not a chacham. Says the Gemara, fine, he's not a chacham, but I have another question for you. Adam kasher hu chiyuv v'mechayiv. Even if he's only an adam kasher, stam a yid, right? All the regular Jew, whoever they are. The regular Jew, you're also chayiv and kriya. How do we know that? Why Rahman al would a person lose young children in the future? So that in the future he'll know that he should be boche on a person who dies. It says the Gemara, so that in the future that a person should be sensitive to a kasher who dies. You're going to punish a person now? You're going to take his children now, Rahman al-Islan? That's crazy. Everyone has to lose a child to understand what it means to. That's way too far. The Gemara concedes to that and says, "Ella, you're right. Mibnei shelo bacha." It's talking about the past. If when a kasher a yid dies, that we're not bacha, we're not sad about it. V'isabel al adam kasher. So there we see that there is a chiyuv taka to be misabel on a regular kasher yid. So maybe you're right. Our Mishnah is talking about Meisi Day, but it's not evlo. It's also not a chacham, but it's an adam kasher. So by an adam kasher, you're chayav to have some degree of avelus as well. So maybe our Mishnah is talking about him, and you're going to be chayav yet again. Back to our question. Answers the Gemara, lo tzricha delav adam kasher. No, he was a Rasha. He wasn't a regular Jew. He was not an adam kasher. He didn't deserve to have the appropriate avelus. Says the Gemara, okay, but even by a person who's not a good yid, he's not a kasher yid, fine. But we're right about halfway down. Kufhem with beis v'idikoi b'shas yitzias neshama chiyuv mechayev. But if a person is present during yitzias neshama, I've been present for such things. I used to work for Hatzalah in New York. We dealt with the Riverdale community. There were a lot of geriatric facilities. There people died nebuch regularly. So there were a number of calls that I was on where people passed away. I didn't know this din at the time. Had I known, I would have torn kriya. The Tanya Reb Shimon Elazar Omer HaOmed Al HaMeis B'Shas Yitzias Neshama Chayev L'Kroa. Ladina, this is a machlokas aposkim. Moshe Feinstein was of the opinion that if you're a doctor and you work in a ward, or let's say nebuch in the COVID culture where people have been passing away in other cities in droves, so the din is that you should tear a little kera at the bottom of your shirt. Take a knife, take a scissors, cut a little bit, tear a little bit. Chiyuv kriyat, yes neshama. It's a chashuv moment for that mace that we should be showing kriya. We should be showing covered for the mace. So says the Gemara, maybe he's not your family member. Maybe he's not a chacham. And maybe he's not even an adam kasher. L'chol hapachos, if you're present for Yitzias Neshama, you're still chayav kriya. So how could you say pater in our Mishnah? Says the Gemara, halamaz adoma, when a person dies, what's he like? But Sefer Torah shenisraf. Even a person who's not a kasher. It's a beautiful idea in hashkafa. Even a person who's not a kasher, we treat him to be like someone who's a Sefer Torah that was nisraf. He's a person who passed away. So how can it be that our Mishnah says pater should say chayav lo tzricha de lo kai b'shas yitzias neshama? No, you weren't there when the person died, but taka would be the case that you'd be obligated to tear kriya. Taka, that would be true. Again, machlokas aposkim, if that's applicable nowadays for people who work on Hatzalah, they should ask a halachic shaila. People who are exposed, who work in the nursing home world, people who are exposed to anyone who passes away with any degree of regularity, that's a real shaila and halach if you're chayav to tear kriya. Says the Gemara, Tenach, fine, you've answered the question of our Mishnah. What's the case of our Mishnah? When our Mishnah says, just kind of keep a finger here right in the middle of the page, looking at the top, we said, Hakoreh b'chamaso v'al meso v'chol mekalklen pater. What's Hakoreh al meso? The case is where he is not a family member, but you have a burden to bury him. He's not a Talmid Chacham, he's not a kasher, and you are not present for Yitzias HaNeshama. Under those circumstances, our Mishnah would say that you're pater, and the question of the Gemara, of the contradiction in Tanaic sources, falls away. Says the Gemara, Tenach meso, you did a good job answering the question about what our Mishnah says about mace. Ela chamaso achamaso kasha. Still, we have a problem because our Mishnah and the first source and source number 2, in the Gemara, he said Hakoreh b'chamaso chayv. Our Mishnah says Hakoreh b'chamaso pater. So how do you get that to work out? We answered the mace part, fine. But what about this case? Answers the Gemara, chamaso achamaso nami lo kasha. No problem at all. Even the case of chamaso achamaso is not a problem. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, because we know our classical machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. What is that? Rabbi Yehuda, damar malacha shein tzricha legufa chayiv. Source number 2, chayiv aleha. Source number 2, the one that begins our Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda was of the opinion, if you do malacha shein tzricha legufa, I'm tearing bechamaso. I'm tearing to calm my anger. I'm not tearing for any other purpose. So I'm not tearing in a way which is malacha shetzricha legufa. It's malacha she'ena tzricha legufa. Classic Rabbi Yehuda. We've seen this 20 times in the Masechta. So therefore, if a person is going to be koreh bechamaso, afal pi that it's malacha she'ena tzricha legufa, Rabbi Yehuda passing that malacha she'ena tzricha legufa is chayiv. Rabbi Shimon the malacha she'ena tzricha legufa pater. That's our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that you're pater when you tear bechamaso, when you're koreh bechamaso, you're angry. What can you do? So when you're koreh bechamaso, Reb Shimon would say that you're pater. 2/3 of the way down says the Gemara, okay, Amar the Shamas the Rabbi Yehuda b'Mesakein. I could understand the din of Rabbi Yehuda in regards to Mesakein. Namely, when you're doing something that's constructive, then yes, we enter into the machlokas Rabbi Yehuda Reb Shimon about whether or not it's malacha she'en tzricha legufa. But this is kilkul. All you're doing is tearing a garment because you're angry. So why are you saying that this is masakin, that you're actually fixing something, and therefore we enter into the machlokas Rabbi Yehuda Reb Shimon about or pater? Why? This is kilkul. You're tearing a garment. There's no purpose to it. You're not going to fix it. It should be kilkul. You should be pater. No machlokas Rabbi Yehuda Reb Shimon. Answers the Gemara. Let me just say the whole question. Amar the Shama said Rabbi Yehuda b'Mesakein b'Mekalkel mishamasle. Could we say that Rabbi Yehuda would even say that by Mekalkel, by destruction, that there's malacha she'en tzricha legufa in your chayiv? That's such an extreme shita. Mekalkel is a destructive act. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rav Avin, Hai Nami Metakenu. Such a powerful idea. Listen to this Gemara. The Gemara says that when a person's korea bechamaso, when you tear something out of anger, we still consider that misakin, that you're actually fixing something. You're tearing the garment. What's the fixing? Answers Rav Avin, Tika'avid nachatz ruach leyitzro. You're calming your nerves. You're calming your yetzer hara. Under those circumstances, says the Gemara, that's considered misakein, and it's ledina. That Rabbi Yehuda we don't pass him like Rabbi Yehuda, but in Rabbi Yehuda's world, a person who's koreh bechamaso is chayv midoraisa. It's a malacha doraisa. You're tearing only to get your anger out. Enough, dayenu. That's considered to be misakein. You're working on your emotions. This is like an interface question of like, do we say that your feelings matter when it comes to Meleches Shabbos? Because it makes your feelings feel a little bit better, you're going to be chayiv. Says Rabbi Yehuda, when you're koreh bechamaso, the answer is yes and absolutely, because it is no longer considered kilkul when it calms you down. Fascinating and powerful idea, out of bounds for our general understanding of things. Asks the Gemara now a general question, 4 lines up in the thin lines on Kuf Hey. Amid Bey says the Gemara, wait a minute. Koreh bechamaso in general, isn't that a sign of being a shota? Isn't that a sign of being off your game? Says the Gemara, do we ever allow a person to be koreh bechamaso such that we're even having this conversation about Tanya? Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Mishum Chilfa bar Igrash, Amar Mishum Reb Yochanan ben Nuri. A person who tears their clothes in anger. Someone who's breaking things when they're angry. I'm so mad, I'm going to throw a bag of money on the streets. I'm fuming. That person, it's as if they worshipped idols. A wild comparison. A person who is so angry that they can't control their behavior, it's like they're doing avodah zarah. Why? Shekachum naso shal yetzer hara, the first of the longest lines, kupayim with beis. This is how the yetzer hara works. Hayom omer lo. Today we say asay kach, ulamacher omer lo asay kach, ad she'omer lo avodah zarah, veholech ve'oved. It's a snowball effect. We're concerned. The way the yetzer hara works is he chips away at you. I've seen I think this is a Gemara in Sanhedrin somewhere, that the yetzer hara first starts with something that's as difficult as just plucking at what is something that's equivalent to the web of a spider. It's so thin, you could barely feel it. Your first Aveira is always small, but it snowballs. It's Omer Mutter. Well, once I've already failed, I'm going to do another Aveira. All the psychology, Omer Mutter, whatever it is. So here the Gemara says this is the derech of Avodah Zarah. In order to get us to do terrible things, the yetzer hara always starts small. You don't take someone who's sitting in a base medrash and with one opportunity of niu, if he's going to violate dinah, that's crazy. That's not the way we work. We chip away to failure. By the way, we also grow that way too. We have to make slow decisions to grow. And let's bring a text proof to this. Third line of the wider lines. I'm Rabbi Abin Ma'ikra. What is the pasuk that supports this? The pasuk says, "Lo yevacha el zar v'lo tishtachaveh el nechar." You should not daven to a strange god. You should not bow down to a strange god. Ezu el zar sheyesh begufo shel adam. Who is a strange god that's in the body of the human being? Answers the Gemara. Avi omer yetzer hara. This is our yetzer hara. Back to our question. If that's the case, then you should never be allowed to break things b'chamaso. So how would we even answer the question? It's usher. It should be usher from the beginning. What do you mean you're chayiv on Shabbos for malacha she'eina tzricha leguf according to Yehuda? It's usher to start with. You should not be allowed to do it in the first place. Answers the Gemara, you're right. I embrace your question wholeheartedly. You're right. It's usher to do it. Lo tzricha deka'avid lemirma einsa inshe beise. Why were you tearing things b'chamaso? You were only doing it to instill fear of the members of your house. What does that mean? Kiad Rabbi Yehuda shalif matzvaisa. When Rabbi Yehuda was upset, he used to tear at his hem. Rav Acha bar Yaakov tavar manei tzvirei. He would break kelim that were already broken. He wouldn't break kelim that he wanted to keep for the future. He only broke things that were already broken, things that were chipped. Rav Sheshes rami leila amse monine aresha. This is something that we should never do. I don't understand the context here. I didn't look into it. Rav Sheshes would throw fish brine at one of the servants in his house. Crazy behavior, something that we can't judge, but also wouldn't do today. Rabbi Abba, Tavra Nichtama, he would break lids. He would drop them on the floor and shatter them. So this just raises some halacha questions. Rabbi Yehuda would say that this is the malacha she'eina tzricha legufa. Seemingly, that's why, because it's no longer about the yetzer hara, because you're not allowed to break things for your yetzer hara. That's asar tzkilu your oved avodah zara. So the Gemara pivoted and said, okay, fine, you're right, it's not that, but it's this. So that what must mean, according to the flow of the Gemara, the Rabbi Yehuda held that malacha she'eina tzricha legufa is chayiv in these cases, even when you're being instructional. I'm showing anger on my face. We do this as parents sometimes, where we should be in control. Sometimes we need to show anger, we need to show feelings in order to make a point, even if we're not so angry, but we have to stand our ground sometimes, whatever the case may be. So that's enough to be triggering an Isser D'Oraisa that you're chayiv midoraisa on it, according to Rabbi Yehuda. The answer from the Gemara seems to be yes. Nusugya, 10 lines from the bottom. Amar Rav Shimon ben Patim, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum bar Kapar, Kol Amori Demos al Adam Kasher, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Sofran, Umanicha Bebeis Kanazo. If a person cries, he sheds tears over a person who's kasher when he dies, Hashem counts them and collects them and puts them in his base Ganazav, he puts them in his storehouse. Shne'emar, as the pasuk writes, Nodi sofarta ata sima dimasi benodecha halo b'sifrasecha. I'm going to keep all of them and count them. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav kol misatel bespedo shel chacham. Anyone who's lazy when it comes to a hesped of a chacham, roi lekov robachayev, they should be buried alive. Shne'emar vayikbaru oso begvul nachala so besimna serach asher behar Ephraim mitzafon lahar Goash. This pasuk is referencing the death of Yehoshua. We know that when Moshe died, that there was Avelis. When Aaron died, that there was a tremendous Avelis. Everybody knew. These are psukim and chumash. We don't see any notable Avelis by Yehoshua. Says the Gemara, Melamed she rogash alein hahar lahorga. The mountain that was there where he was buried wanted to punish everyone. It's ridiculous. Where's the right cover for Yehoshua? It says the Gemara, that therefore there was a consequence to those people. Amar B'chia bar Abba, Amar Yochanan. What was the consequence? Then you're going to get, a person will get punished, Rahman al-Islan, if they don't show the right cover to a Gadol Hador who makes, to a Chacham who dies. You don't show the right cover, you get a punishment of a shorter life. Shneimar, b'sa'ah, b'shalcha, tzriven, sa'ah, the Mefarshim, right from the word sa'ah. It's measured out. It's a measured amount, and you'll be punished accordingly. Says the Gemara, is that really true? That's not how the way things played out with Yehoshua. Because when Yehoshua died, maybe they didn't give a lot of cover, but what does it say in the pasuk? 4 lines from the bottom. Hashem kol yimei Yehoshua v'chol yimei hazikenim. They were old people. Asher harichu yamim acharei Yehoshua. People taka did live a long life. So you said that they didn't give right cover, they should have been killed earlier. Mida keneged mida b'sa. They should have been given the measurement earlier. Amarle, he said back to Bavloim, you from Babel, speaking to Rav Chia, Rav Yochanan lived in Eretz Yisrael. He said to Rav Chia, who traveled, Rashi points this out here. He says, you from Babel, yamim he'erichu. Their days were qualitative. They lived good days, but shanim lo he'erichu. However, they did not have a long life. Elamayata, if that's true, we have to ask a kasha from the pasuk in Shema. Laman yirbu yemechem b'mei b'nechem. What does the pasuk say? It only talks about days, doesn't talk about years. Maybe this is like the days by Yehoshua, where the Zakanim had good days, but they didn't live a long life. They accomplished a lot. They had Geshmak days, but they died young. So therefore, Yamim v'lo shanim. Rahman al-Itzlan. This is a bracha that we get for keeping mitzvahs. You're going to tell me that it only applies to good days and not a long life? Answers the Gemara, bracha shiny. When it comes to that pasuk in the second paragraph of Shema, a bracha is shiny. That bracha is different. The psukim by Yehoshua, we're not talking about a bracha. Next, Rabbi Chia bar Abba, last line of Kupayim with Beis. Rabbi Chia bar Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, Echad min ha'achin shemeis, if a brother dies, Yidag kol ha'achin kulan. All the brothers should also be concerned. Echad mibnei chabura. If there's a group of people and one of the person Rahman al-Islan dies, Shema tida shemeis, tida kol ha'chabura kula. Everyone should be concerned. Amrei lo demeis gadol ve'amrei lo demeis katan. The Gemara says it's not clear whether or not we're talking about if the oldest sibling died or the oldest of the chabura, or if the youngest sibling died, the youngest of the chabura. Next sugya, we spoke about now in our Mishnah just two cases. We spoke about Hakoreh b'chamas and we spoke about Meso. Next in that our Mishnah writes on the top of Kupayim with Beis, the next words were V'chol Mekalkal and P'turin. Let's go to the top of Kuvav and Aleph to answer the question. V'chol Mekalkal and P'turin. What's going on with this case of P'tur? Tani Rabbi Abo, Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Abo says to Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Mekalkal and P'turin, that anyone who does damages for no good purpose at all, they're going to be pater. Chutz, except for someone who is going to be destructive, they're going to cause a wound. Umavir, and for lighting a fire. Why? Why isn't destruction? First of all, we have another problem. Amar le, Rabbi Yochanan says back to Rabbi Abo, Pok Tani Lebra. Did you ever learn? Go grab a Mishnayos. Chovel umavir eno Mishnah. When you know all of Mishnah, you can push back and say it's not a Mishnah. When we all finish Shatzim Yirtzeh Hashem soon, in a couple of years, we're all going to be able to say that's not found in Mishnah. So Rabbi Yochanan said back to Rabbi Abo, what are you talking about? That's nowhere found in any of the Torah Satanaim at all, that there's an exception to Mekalkel by Chovel and Mavir. And even if you wanted to say there was, Vimtim Salomar Mishnah, even if you wanted to, maybe I'll just argue it's Chovel B'tzarech L'kalbo. You're just, you're causing damage because they used to treat their dogs in some ways with blood. They used to make them eat blood for certain scenarios. And then that's why you're going to say that you're chayiv in that case, not because it's pure Mekalkel, but pure Mekalkel, B'chabura, you should be pater, says Rav Yochanan. Mavir, what about fire? B'tzarech L'afaro, I need it for the ashes. So that's the answer that the Gemara gives. Rabbi Yochanan doesn't like the shita of Rabbi Abo to say that Mekalkalin has these two pturim. Says the Gemara back to Rabbi Abahu and to Rabbi Yochanan's Imtim Salomar that he entertained the possibility that Chovel and Mavir are exceptions to the rule of Mekalkel. Look at our Mishnah. Answers the Gemara. Masnis and Rabbi Yehuda. B'raisa Reb Shimon. Big machlokes in the Rishonim. Here Rashi here highlights a number of shitas. One shita is that Rabbi Yehuda is just a straight up follower of our Mishnah, that all cases of Mekalkel are pater. And Reb Shimon holds that, no, not all cases of Mekalkel are pater, it depends. Rashi here, if you look on the side briefly, we're not going to go into it, but if you look a few lines into Rashi, you'll see that he doesn't like this idea. It's Rashi, Dibur Maskal Masnis and Rabbi Yehuda, he says, the Islam Mekalkel bechabura pater, v'lo ispari shecha, no mari makom. For that, v'li nira, Masnis and Rabbi Yehuda, he, damar malacha shein etzricha legufa, falling back on a previous well-known machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, and not this new machlokas about the nature of Mekalkel and pater. We're not going to finish that Rashi, but a great Rashi to read on your own to understand another approach to this machlokas in the Gemara between these two Tanaic sources, our Mishnah and the Brisa of Rabbi Abo. And how do we explain each shita? Says the Gemara. My time at Reb Shimon held that there was a case of chiyuv. And what was the chiyuv? The chiyuv was that by chovel, when you cause damage to someone, an injury, then you're going to still be chayiv, even though it's mekalkel. So it says, my time at Reb Shimon, because we needed a pasuk that allowed for bris milah to occur on Shabbos. So Yom HaShemini Mol B'Sar Orlaso. I did a bris this morning. Should have been an Isser Doraisa. Why was it mutter? Because there's a pasuk in Chumash that's a trump card. As long as the baby is born naturally and not C-section, etc., whatever the guidelines are. Once a bris is mutter, it's a mitzvah doraisa. What happened to the Isser? The pasuk was matir. So it says the Gemara in the name of Reb Shimon. Because we needed a pasuk to be matir mila, which he considers to be kilkul. You're damaging. Granted, it's a mitzvah, but you're damaging. Therefore, he makes a deal because the pasuk was the matir. Without the pasuk, what would have happened? We would never have allowed bris milah because it's mekalkel, it's chovel. We would never have allowed it. Says the Gemara. Not only that, the second piece of the argument that Reb Shimon would give me to us, Rachmana Havara Gabe Bas Kohen, because when there's a Bas Kohen, what's the pasuk that says that Bas Kohen, when if she were to be inappropriate and she were to be mezaneh, so the din is that she's chayv sreifa. So what they do is sreifa, they would boil lead and they would Rachmana Litzlan pour her down her throat. It would kill her relatively quickly. It's boiling hot lead. It's a terrible onesh. So Ba'ish Tisaref, she'd be killed. So there, we don't allow it on Shabbos because the Torah forbade it on Shabbos. Shma mina ma'avir ba'al machai. We see therefore that the boiling of the lead is going to be problematic unless you have a matir. So what do we see? Says Reb Shimon. We see that chovel bris milah ma'avir by the lead of sreifa. We see that those things are otherwise usher. So that's why Rabbi Abo taught his din that kol makal klin arptuna except for chovel and ma'avir. Says Rabbi Yehuda, what are you talking about? Bris milah is a chabala. Bris milah is kilkul. What are you talking about? Says Gemara Yehuda, hasa misakein hu. That's not kilkul. That's misakein. You're being mitakein. You're fixing. You're doing something good. It's not kilkul. How did you even bring this into the case in the first place? Who could say that a bris milah is kilkul? Totally unreasonable. Kid Ravashi, the Amar Ravashi, mali mitakein milah, mali mitakein kli. If I affix a handle to a kli, that's mitakein, but bris milah is kilkul. That's wild. He doesn't like the shita of Shimon whatsoever. Mali levashel psila, mali levashel samonim. It's all tikkun. None of this is both of the things that Reb Shimon wanted to say that we said by chovel and ma'avir, that's ridiculous, and therefore he rejects the whole thing. And that's the machlokas between these two sources, our Mishnah and this Bryce of Rabbi Abo, and the Gemara gives this answer, Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon. Says the Gemara shir hamalabein. What is the shear? To dye something, and the other things mentioned in the Mishnah as well, not just dyeing. Rav Yosef, machve kaful, Rav Chia bar Ami, machve pashut. Rav Yosef said, as mentioned, that if you look at this shear, it's the space between the amma and the etzba, so let's call it a centimeter, multiplied by 2. However, Rav Chia bar Ami, machve pashut. Rav Chia bar Ami's shear was between the godel and the etzba, a much, much longer shear, way different, triple, quadruple, whatever the number is, much, much longer between the top of the thumb and the top of the index finger. That brings us to the next Mishnah, bottom of Kuvav and Maralef. Let's keep plugging away. Rav Yehuda Omer had tzad tzipor lemigdal. If a person traps a bird in a tower, utzvila bais, and you trap a deer in a house, chayev. The din is that you violate the malacha of tzad of trapping. The Chachamim say tzipor the migdal. I agree with you in regards to the bird for the migdal. What I don't agree with is with the tzvi. You, the Tanakama, wrote that it's only true in a bayis. I hold differently. The tzvi, turning to the top of Kuvav Amud Beis, we're getting there. The tzvi legina l'chatzer u'lebei barin. In many cases, in gardens, if you trap it inside a garden, u'l'chatzer in a yard, u'lebei barin. Bei barin, Rashi here points out bei barin, first Rashi and the Mishnah and the Gemara 3 lines. It's actually Rashi in the wrong place for our purposes, but it answers the question. Karfefios mukafin. It's outdoors, but in closed types of environments with a gate. So there, the Tanakama, the second Shita holds that you're chayiv against the Tanakama. Reb Shimon, that's Rabbi Yehuda Shita, right? No, the Tanakama is Rabbi Yehuda. This was the Chachamim who had a more expansive set of Isurim. Rabbi Yehuda said the only time when you capture a tzvi, you'll be chayiv is in a house. And here the Chachamim expanded to it, not only a house, but Gina, Chatzer, and Beit Barin. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer lo kol ha-beibar and shavin. No, it's not true. Not every beibar is the same. He's pushing back against Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said all beibar are going to be chayiv. He said it depends. There's different kinds. Lo kol ha-beibar and shavin. Zaklal. Here are the guidelines. Mechusar tzei the pater, she'ena mechusar tzei the chayiv. He's very practical about it. If it's not yet trapped, you're going to be pater. If it's trapped, you're going to be chayiv. If it's stuck in your yard, it's trapped. You don't have to have it leashed up. It doesn't have to be in a small space. Whatever. Door closed, you're going to be chayiv. Opens the Gemara, asking a question from a a well-known Mishnah, Maseches Beitza, I believe at the beginning of the 3rd parak, says the Mishnah as follows, Tanan Hasam, Ein Sadin Dagim in Beibar B'Yom Tov. On Yontif, one is not allowed to trap fish from a beibar, from an enclosed pond, on Yontif. Ve'ein nosnin lifnei mazonos, you can't feed them either. About Sadin Chayav Ha'of, nosnin lifnei mazonos, but you are allowed to trap. In these beibarin, you are allowed to trap chaya ve'ov, deer. Chaya is like non-behemoth animals, like goats and deer, but not cows. And you can feed them. That's source number 1. Uraminhu, always a contradiction from a source in the Tanoim. Beibarin shel chayos v'shel ofos v'shel dagim ein tzadim mehem b'yom tov ein nos niftem zonos. Kasha chaya chaya kasha ofos ofos. There are two parts of this that don't make sense. The chaya, in the first case, we said is going to be mutter. In the second case, we said is usher. The ophos, in the first case, what did we say? In the first case, let's find it. It said that it's going to be mutter. In the second case, we said it's usher. So that's what the Gemara says. Kasha chaya achaya kasha ophos ofos. It says the Gemara as follows: Bishlama, 1/4 of the way down, 1/5 of the way down. Bishlama chaya achaya lo kasha. The contradiction between these two sources in the Tanaim, with one saying the trapping a chaya is usher and one saying mutter, that's lo kasha. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan, go back to our Mishnah. That's the machlokas we saw in our Mishnah, that there are different cases in which one's going to be chayiv. In a beibar, the Rabbi Yehuda was more strict than in a beibar. Everyone agrees. With a beibar, the Chachamim said it's going to be usher. Rabbi Yehuda would have said it's pater. Ela ofos ofos kasha. But when it comes to birds, everyone in our Mishnah said that the tzipor was going to be trapped in a migdal. That's what was going to be chayiv. V'chitema ofos nami lo kasha. Even if you want to say that, you can still answer the contradiction about the birds, because our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan held the same, so you couldn't answer the difference. Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan, they said the same thing, but still we have a difference between the two Tanaic sources. So even if you wanted to say v'chitema ofos nami lo kasha habebar makura habebar she'enu makura, even if you want to say that one of these places is encased with a roof so the bird can't get away, one of them is not encased with a roof so the bird can get away, you want to give that distinction, but that doesn't work. Why? Because v'habayis demakurahu, the house was covered. Uvein l'Rebbe Yehuda, uvein l'Rabbanan, tzipor l'migdal, in l'bayis lo. It's not enough. It's not about the roof. It's not about the roof. So that answer doesn't work. So let's try to figure out, how do we answer what's going on here? This contradiction between the two sources in the Tanaim about ophos, one saying pater, one saying chayiv. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, hacha b'tzipor duror askinam. We're dealing with a very wild bird. It's not a disciplined bird. It always finds a way to sneak out. Why is it that this type of bird was referred to as a duror, as a wild bird? It lives in a house like it does in the field. You give me a tiny window opening, I'm slithering out of there. We got a doggy entrance, I'm going straight through. This bird will get out. He's not trappable, and because of that, you're never chayav on trapping this bird. Even if you trap it, so it's still going to be pater. He'll find a way out. Halfway down the page says the Gemara, Hashta da'asis lahachi. If you're willing to go so far with this answer, chaya achaya nami lo kasha, we could have given a different answer for the chaya achaya. Habebar gadol habebar katan. We didn't have to answer Rabbi Yehuda, and we didn't have to answer that there's a machlokas Rabbi Yehuda versus the Chachamim, like we answered 5 lines ago. We could have given an answer where everyone agrees, where Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim agree. What would the answer be? It would be an answer where one Mishnah was talking about X and one Mishnah is talking about Y. And in such cases, because you're talking about different things, there is no machlokas, and that's always preferred. We don't like answering that there's a machlokas. So the Gemara is saying we have another possibility. Let's test the waters and see what it says. Bebeibar katan, bebeibar gadol. So ask the Gemara, heichidami, about halfway down on Kuvav Amud Beis, heichidami bebeibar gadol, heichidami bebeibar katan. How do we define this enclosed space, the large one and the small one? Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says, here's how we define this small space. Ravashi says, if you are able to grab the animal instantly with one swoop of your hand, that is considered to be a beibar katan. And that's what would be pater. The idach beibar gadol. Everything else would be considered a beibar gadol. Inami, another way to explain this, and in fact, the Rishonim here point out that these are not 3 different answers. They're 3 variants on the same idea, which is that it's considered a beibar katan. Number 2, kol hecha denafil tula deksalam hadade. A tula in Aramaic is shade. Tuf and sadi sometimes are interchangeable. Sail is shade. So when the shade of one wall falls on another wall, so then that space is going to be considered a beibar katan. You'll excuse me for looking outside sometimes. If the sun's on the horizon, every wall will touch every wall. What are you talking about? How could you even use that as a measure? Tosfos agrees with this concern. Says the Tosfos second from the bottom. Tosfos says, Hecha denafle tula deksalim. What do you mean? It's going to hit every wall. So answers the Gemara, no, they had a shear in mind. Hayalahem shirak salim shaveh It's not stam. The question that I asked is not a relevant question, that when the sun is all the way right about to dip before the sky, if the sun is this low and it's cutting across the ground, every wall will hit every wall. I don't care how big it is, 1,000 feet wide, a shadow's a shadow. And if the sun's hitting it at a perfectly straight line, it's going to cast the widest shadow until the ends of the earth. So therefore, Tosfos says, you're right. That's not what we're really talking about. It's a fixed shear. Back in the Gemara. The idach beibar gadol, anything else, other rooms that are bigger than that are considered a beibar gadol. The nami, one final possibility, kol hecha deleka ukse ukse, a room that doesn't have a lot of places to hide, a lot of corners, that would be a beibar katan. The idach, a room that does have that, beibar gadol. Almost at the Mishnah. Let's keep going. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Omer, Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Halacha k'Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. We paskin like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Amar le Abaye, Halacha mechlal de pligi. You seem to imply, you who are saying that the halacha is like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, that there's a machlokas between Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and the Chachamim. Amar le, my nafkamina, my nafkalachmina. What does that bother you? I'm just saying we paskin like this. What do you care if there's a bar plukta? Why do you have to bug me, Abaye? Abaye gives a very important answer for our tradition, for our Masorah. They had a lot to remember. Amar le, Gemara Gemur Zimur Tatehe. You're going to just throw things into the Masorah because you want to? You want to just add to the Masorah paskin like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel when really we may not? That's like just kind of singing a song. Oh, you want to write a song? No, go write a song. No, we're talking about our Masorah. You don't throw things into the Masorah extraneously. Only talk if you have a reason. Only say to the halachas like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel when you're sure that there's a machlokes. Don't add anything to our Masorah. Our Masorah is defined. It's clear. We say halachas like X when we know that the halacha is not like Y. That's what Abai was bothered by. A great line in the Gemara, Gemor. I'm trying to teach traditions, Zemorta Tehei, and you're starting to sing a song. Oh, let me just throw this in. Let me throw that in. Lyrics as you wish. Not a game. This is our Masorah. Strong line. A person who traps a deer who is blind and sleeping, you are going to be chayiv. If he is lame, if he's injured and old, v'chole and sick, pater. What's the distinction between the two? Between the one that's blind and sleeping and the one that is lame, old, and sick? Answers the Gemara, Hani avidu l'rabuye, the one that is blind and sleeping, it still has its agility. You put a hand at it, he's going to jump and run. He may not do well with his running because he can't see, he's blind, but he's certainly going to jump away from you. In that case, you're going to be chayiv. But with the case of the chiger v'zaken v'chole, there hani lo avi l'ribuye. I v'atanya chole chayiv. Hi, we have a brisa that says that if in fact there is an animal that's sick, that you would be chayiv for tzad. You just said that the animal, that the deer that's sick is not chayiv for tzad. Answers the Gemara. One is talking about where there is an animal that's sick because of fever, and the other one is just completely overtaxed. They're just incapable of moving. Their muscles are fatigued. They can't move anywhere. So in the first case where there's a fever, even if you don't feel good, if someone forced you, you'd get out of bed. But in this case where the animal is completely fatigued, he will not move at all. And that's the answer to the question of chola. One last sugya for the night, and then we will pause. A person who traps grasshoppers, gizen are another type of grasshoppers. Tzira'in are hornets or bees. Yatushin are mosquitoes. B'Shabbos, the din is chayav divi Reb Meir. The chachamim are. You chachamim omrim, what are you talking about? Kol shebemino nitzod, only things that we normally trap for a purpose, for the sake of that item. We don't trap bees because we want them. We trap bees because we don't want to get stung. And in fact, the Shulchan Aruch paskins in Shintas Zion that it's, I think it's Shintas Zion, that it's mutter to trap bees on Yontif because of this sheet of the Chachamim, coupled with the fact that they're dangerous. The Chachamim hold that trapping bees is not a problem because nobody likes bees. We're not trapping a bee to collect them unless you are. But we don't trap bees to keep them. So if you trap that b'tzeiruf with the fact that they're dangerous and that they're annoying and that they ruin the meal, so the Mishnah Berurah paskins Ladina that it's mutter to trap bees. Not allowed to kill them necessarily, but you are allowed to trap. That's sheet of the Chachamim here. The Chachamim omrim kol shebemino nitzod chayiv, v'chol she'ein bemino nitzod pater. Tanya idach, another brisa. Hatzad chagavim b'shas hatal pater. If a person were to trap grasshoppers when the grass is very wet with tal, so then the din is that you are going to be pater. B'shas hashrav, when there's a drought, chayiv. Rashi here points out something fascinating. When there's tal, when there's dew, the grasshoppers can't see very well, either because the light is refracting and it's super bright, or that it gets all over their eyes. Whatever the metzias is, that's why you're putter, because they're so easy to catch when there's dew on the ground. And then adding to this, the Gemara says, Elazar ben Mahavoy, the end of this brisa reads, Elazar ben Mahavoy omer im hayu mekalchos uvaos putter. If there is just throngs and throngs and throngs, there's a collection of thousands of chagavim, then you're going to be putter. Too easy to scoop them up. They're so easy to catch. You're going to be putter for tzad. Ibailu, they asked Rabbi Elazar ben Mahavoy. He said that when there are throngs of animals, that you're going to be putter. When was that? Was that when there was tal, when the grass was wet, or was that when there was a drought? That's the Gemara's question. Ibayaluhu, Elazar ben Mahavoy Reisha Koi, in the beginning of the brisa, which was talking about when the grass is wet. Oh, Asefa Koi, or no? You're talking about when the grass is completely dry to drought. Which one? Answers the Gemara, and with this we'll cap off the night. Tashma hatzarcha gavin b'shas hatal pater. If you collect grasshoppers during a time when there's dew on the ground, you're going to be pater. B'shas hashrav, when there's a drought, chayiv. Elazar ben Mahavoy omer afilu b'shas hashrav, even when there's a drought and when the bugs can see perfectly fine. Rabbi would have thought that would have been a reason to be chayiv. But if there are throngs of them, you are going to be pater. We will pause here for the night, stopping at the Mishnah on the bottom of Kuv Vav Amud Beis, picking up tomorrow night at 9. What time are we learning? 9:15. Okay. Wishing you all a beautiful night. Thank you so much for learning. A good tavach, a beautiful week, a healthy week, a parnasadik week. We should have a lot of hatzlacha. Thank you very much.